Guys, let's talk about Craig Mack. See, it's messed up enough that Craig Mack started Bad Boy and got them off the ground, but we all know that Diddy and his freak parties, that's what exposed Craig Mack and got him HIV.
So I stopped recording. I said, I'm not gonna be an idiot and sit here and do all this stuff for everybody, and I'm not gonna see anything from it. Next thing I know, money come, with this bullish mafia mentality with him and his goons and all.
Puff told Craig Mack if he didn't change management, he wasn't f***ing with him no more. You understand? And they had a real big beef.
When Netflix dropped its big 2025 documentary, fans noticed something surprising. Craig Mack barely got a mention. The release had everyone talking because Mack wasn't just any artist. He was the one who helped put the label on the map with his hit Flavor in Your Ear.
Congratulate Craig Mack on his Grammy nomination.
No question.
Yes, baby, yeah. Cool, that's cool. And
that song didn't just climb the charts, it changed everything and gave the label its first real buzz. Still, the documentary seemed to skip over huge parts of his story, his role, his sudden exit, and what came afterward. Viewers and longtime fans have pointed out that many key details about his journey were left unclear, leading to plenty of online conversations about what really happened during that chapter of his career.
He wanted his money for his music. So Puff said, yo, I ain't with that kid no more. Not at all. I was right there when he said that.
Craig Mack passed away in 2018 from reported heart failure, but some fans online continue to debate what they believe might have been missing from public reports. None of these claims have been confirmed, but the discussions show just how much people still care about his legacy and want his full story told. Mack's beginnings were humble but inspiring. He grew up in Brentwood, Long Island, New York, a peaceful neighborhood far from the music industry spotlight.
I thought he was kind of cool at first, and then we started seeing some things.
And Craig Mack went to his grave mad at Bad Boy.
There were no fancy studios or industry insiders around, just local talent and a whole lot of determination. From a young age, Mack was captivated by rap music. He studied rhythm, wordplay, and storytelling, treating hip-hop like a craft rather than just a hobby. His passion for music shaped everything he did and helped define the sound of an entire era.
He wanted Craig Mack to wear suits and all this other stuff, and Craig Mack was trying to keep it gully. He was trying to keep it.
Craig Mack was already putting in serious work, performing wherever he could and trying to carve out a name for himself. Back in 1988, under the name MCEZ, he released his very first single, a record that showed early flashes of skill and confidence, even if it didn't bring him instant fame. There were no big radio spins or major label deals yet, but Mack kept pushing forward, building his reputation through live shows, writing non-stop, and sharpening his flow with every performance.
Puff in the back of the club, and I kicked a little freestyle rhyme for him and stuff like that. He was like, yo, this stuff is all that, you know what I'm saying? Why don't you kick a little something with Mary J? So we did it like that, you know what I'm saying? The next thing you know, here I was.
That steady grind started paying off in the early 1990s during a moment that completely shifted his path. One night, outside a New York nightclub, Mack was freestyling on the street, something he did regularly to keep his energy up and connect with people. According to multiple reports, that's when a rising industry figure noticed him performing and was struck by his voice and confidence. That spontaneous street moment reportedly opened the door to one of the biggest breaks of his career. Not long after, Craig Mack became one of the very first artists to join what would soon become a major hip-hop label that helped define the sound of the 1990s. At the time, the label was still brand new, no established stars, no proven hit formula, just pure ambition and creativity. Mack wasn't just another name on a list, he was part of shaping the entire direction of that label's sound. His raw delivery and natural charisma helped blend underground street flavor with mainstream appeal, creating a style that stood out instantly and helped push hip-hop into a whole new era.
He got on that remix on Craig Mack's song, and he went first on Craig Mack's song. When he did that remix, then it started they started been looking up for him.
In 1994, Craig Mack dropped his debut. Then came the remix, and that's when things really exploded. Featuring the notorious B.I.G., LL Cool J, and Busta Rhymes, the track united major talents from different corners of hip-hop. It was a cultural moment that showed how diverse and powerful the genre had become. This remix didn't just top charts, it showed that the label behind Mack was stepping up to compete with the biggest names in the industry. But as success grew, so did change. While Flavor in Your Ear kept dominating the airwaves, another rising artist from the same camp started capturing massive attention. As that new star's fame skyrocketed, the label's focus reportedly began shifting toward the growing demand for fresh projects and new music. Mack, who had helped open the door and establish the label's early credibility, quietly started getting less spotlight. His moment of momentum began to slow down, not because of controversy, but simply because the spotlight was moving fast in a new direction. Even so, his contribution to shaping that early sound remained undeniable. Craig Mack had already made his mark, and hip-hop fans never forgot it.
And it's been said that Craig Mack, he was going to Death Row, right? How did Biggie and Puffy feel about that?
Craig Mack was going to sign to Death Row. He was going to be their first artist on Death Row East. He was coming in there with...
Craig Mack's rise was quick, and the label reacted the way many companies do when they discover a breakout star. All the attention, promotion, and resources started flowing toward the biggest moment in their roster's history. At first, the shift was easy to miss, but over time, it became clear that the focus was beginning to lean elsewhere. Mack, who had once been front and center in shaping the label's early sound, slowly started to fade from the spotlight, even though he was still signed and making music. This change didn't happen overnight, it was gradual.
So I stopped recording. I said, I'm not gonna be an idiot and sit here and do all this stuff for everybody, and I'm not gonna see anything from it. Next thing I know, money come, with this bullish mafia mentality with him and his goon.
Media attention began drifting, priorities inside the label reportedly shifted, and Mack's name wasn't being promoted with the same intensity as before. His next project, Operation Get Down, reflected that change. The album faced delays, and when it finally dropped, it didn't receive the same promotional push that had helped launch his debut so successfully. There was less rollout, limited press, and minimal visibility, tough conditions in an industry where timing and exposure can make or break a release. That slowdown had real effects. Fans who had been eager for new music found themselves waiting longer, with very little information about what was next. The buzz that once surrounded Mack began to fade as other artists rose in prominence. Behind the scenes, according to reports, Mack grew frustrated, feeling creatively stuck and limited by his contract. He believed it held him back from exploring new collaborations or opportunities beyond the label. It was a turning point, one where Mack's earlier momentum seemed to keep rolling, but without him in the driver's seat. By 1996, Craig Mack made a bold move. He reportedly filed for bankruptcy, a decision many viewed as a strategic step to gain more control over his career. Some industry observers believed it was a legal way to reset his situation and possibly open new doors for future projects. Around that same period, unconfirmed reports began circulating that Mack's former wife, Roxanne Alexis Hill Johnson, later spoke publicly about that time, saying it wasn't just a business disagreement, but an experience that deeply affected him personally. She described that period as one filled with frustration and roadblocks that slowed his career momentum. By this point, Mack felt trapped between legal restrictions and creative limits. What once felt like an open road had turned into a tough climb. And when the recent documentary came out, many viewers noticed that none of these challenges were mentioned, leaving fans wondering why such a big part of his story remained untold. One story Craig Mack shared later in life revealed just how much pressure he felt during his career. He reportedly recalled being confronted by a music executive over unfinished material, a situation that, according to him, felt more like a demand than a discussion. Mack described the experience as tense and said it made him uneasy about how much control he really had over his work. He refused to record under what he believed were unfair conditions, which only added more stress to an already difficult time. Mack never identified anyone by name and didn't make direct accusations. He simply expressed how heavy the pressure could be behind the scenes in the music business. By the early 2000s, Craig Mack decided to walk away from the industry altogether. Years later, in 2012, he was reported to have joined a religious ministry in South Carolina. The group's leader made public comments about his arrival that surprised many fans, who were unaware he had completely shifted his life away from music. When Craig Mack joined the ministry, the group described it as a spiritual rebirth, a fresh start, where his old life and music was left behind. For those within the community, it meant he had chosen faith and peace over the pressure of fame in the entertainment industry.
Craig started becoming disenchanted. You got nominated for a Grammy, but we had no money.
Fans who remembered his rise in the 1990s couldn't help but wonder why he stepped away so completely. Many believed it was a mix of personal challenges, career frustrations, and a search for something more meaningful. Whatever the reason, it was clear Mack wanted a life that felt calmer and more fulfilling. To friends and fellow artists, the decision seemed sudden and even mysterious, but Mack appeared content. He had found something he hadn't experienced in years: peace of mind, a sense of direction, and control over his own path. Looking back, it's clear that Craig Mack's transformation marked a powerful turning point in his life. His story shifted from that of a rising hip-hop star facing industry pressure to a man searching for renewal, peace, and faith far from the spotlight. The fame, interviews, and public attention that once defined him no longer seemed important. He had chosen a quieter path built on purpose and reflection.
All this gospel music came on, and it was this song I've never heard before in my life ever, but I knew that it was God talking to me.
Craig Mack passed away on March 12, 2018, at the age of 47, while living in Walterboro, South Carolina. He was far from the busy music hubs of New York or Los Angeles, leading a simple, private life. For fans, the news came as a shock. A key figure in hip-hop's early 1990s wave had passed.
Craig Mack's early success helped shape the foundation of an entire era in hip-hop. Fellow artists often spoke about his unique voice, confident delivery, and the timeless energy of flavor in your ear. Even decades later, the track stood as a classic, a reminder of how much creativity and originality Mack brought to the game. Though his later years were mostly private, his influence never faded. After his passing, many fans and industry voices revisited his story, noting how he had once stepped away from fame to focus on faith and inner peace. His choice to live quietly, far from the spotlight, left people wondering about the toll that fame, contracts, and non-stop pressure can have on artists over time. According to official reports, Craig Mack's cause of death was heart failure, with no signs of foul play. Still, his sudden passing and long absence from public life left fans reflecting deeply, not just on his music, but on the hidden struggles that often come with success in the entertainment world. Craig Mack helped define a key moment in hip-hop history, yet chose to leave it all behind, taking much of his story with him. His passing left many unanswered questions and reminded fans that an artist's real journey often runs far deeper than the headlines ever show. Even after his death, people continued to discuss the pressures he faced, the tough choices he made, and how those moments shaped his later years. Mack's quiet departure from the spotlight, along with reports of business and contractual challenges, painted a picture of an artist navigating a complex industry where creative freedom wasn't always easy to hold on to. His legacy became more than music. It became a reflection of perseverance and the hidden cost of chasing success in the music world. The pressures Craig Mack faced weren't always visible to the public. Decisions about albums, contracts, and career moves came with real consequences, showing that success in music doesn't always mean full creative control or stability.
His story revealed how fragile fame can be and how much happens behind the curtain that fans never see. Many noticed that major documentaries and retrospectives focused mainly on the hits and the rise of the label, while much of Mac's personal journey remained in the background. The challenges he faced, the frustrations he expressed, and the reasons behind his retreat from fame were rarely discussed in detail.
All right, guys, let's talk about Craig Mack. See, it's messed up enough that Craig Mack started Bad Boy and got them off the ground, but we all know that Diddy and his freak parties, that's what exposed Craig Mack and got him HIV.
Craig Mack's life became more than just a piece of hip-hop history. It became a powerful reminder of the unseen realities artists deal with behind the scenes. Even years after Flavor in Your Ear ruled the charts, his story stands as a lesson in how talent, determination, and faith can coexist with pressure, sacrifice, and silence. His legacy isn't just about success, it's about resilience and the truth that every artist's journey has layers the public may never fully see.
In a resurfaced interview, Craig Mack spoke openly about his frustrations with the music industry, not in anger, but with honesty and reflection. He talked about the pressure that came with fame, the challenges of navigating contracts, and the constant balancing act between loyalty, creativity, and business. His words offered a rare look at how sudden success can weigh on an artist trying to stay true to their vision. Around that same time, conversations about artist rights and publishing resurfaced across the industry, sparking renewed interest in Mack's early contributions. While there's no verified record that he ever regained control of his catalog, fans viewed these discussions as a reminder of how important his role was in shaping a major chapter of hip-hop history. Still, when modern documentaries revisited that era, much of Mack's deeper story remained untold. His struggles, his withdrawal from music, and the personal choices behind it all. Craig Mack wasn't a background figure. He was one of the key artists who helped define an era long before the label's biggest stars rose to fame.
We lost heart failure, you know what I'm saying? That was then.
Craig Mack's legacy still sparks conversation because his story goes far beyond the music. While it's easy to celebrate the label's later success, the more complicated parts, the pressure, the choices, and the personal reflections are often left out. Fans continue to ask, not out of suspicion, but out of curiosity and respect. Why is such an important piece of hip-hop history remained unexplored? Why were the moments that showed Mack's dedication and sacrifice left in the shadows? His journey wasn't just about one hit song. It was about the unseen side of fame, the challenges of staying true to yourself, and the real cost of building something groundbreaking. Craig Mack's story reminds us that behind every chart-topping record lies a human story filled with lessons about resilience, balance, and truth. If you want more deep dives into hip-hop's untold stories and forgotten legends, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss what's coming next.